What's up, guys? Ben here bringing you another video. Today, I'm breaking down a bunch of announcements that the Call of Duty League put out yesterday in regards to the 2023 season. A lot of new information about the schedule and Major 1. Let's talk about it. A lot of W news. I'm also going to give a few suggestions on some tweaks I would make. So let's dive in and discuss. All right, so first thing right off the bat, we've been asking this for like a number of years. I can't even think of the first time we got this released in COD. So this is probably like, we're going back, what? At least since I've been following intently since Black Ops 2. We finally got the full season schedule. The only thing we're missing is the date of champs, but we basically have the full regular season schedule in front of us, when tournaments are, when qualifiers are. So let's discuss. So as previously announced, Major 1 cycle will start on December 2nd, the week after Thanksgiving. We'll get 2 weeks of qualifiers, and we'll get into what that means. And then we're going to have our first major of the season the week before Christmas. December 15th, 18th is also World Cup final weekend, so I'm super excited. We're then going to have a couple of weeks off for the holidays and New Year's, and we'll be right back at it on January 13th. 3 weeks then, and then the beginning of February, we will have the tournament in Boston for Major 2. About a 2-ish week break before Major 3 starts, and then again the same thing, and that will be a tournament in the beginning of March in Arlington. And you're seeing a repeating cycle here, not big layoffs in between these majors. We're only looking at like 1 to 2 weeks. We're back right at it for Major 4, which will be taking place in New York. And then finally, we actually got a Major 5 announcement. Along with this, we will be going to Toronto, back to Toronto, this time in May for Major 5. I'm super excited for that. And that will be our final event of the season. Again, didn't announce the dates for champs yet. I would say educated guess probably mid to end of June, maybe beginning of June if they're trying to do it quickly, but the season's basically going to be over before the summer starts, which I know some people have mixed feelings about. Personally, for me, I like the shorter season. It's going to be better for viewership. It's going to be better for engagement. And I think for the players, look, it gives them a real off season. And for other partners of Activision, people like TST, people like The Flank that are trying to do stuff outside of the season, for us having a bigger window to do stuff and not be running up against counter programming CDL stuff is really key. So I'm down for this kind of schedule. As we discussed, Major 5 will be taking place in Toronto. Venue TBD, but won't be surprised if we go back to Matamé there. Honestly, for me, last season, this was one of the best events of the season. I know the Toronto team had been really trying to run an event for a number of years. They wanted to run one, obviously, in the beginning of the history of the CDL, and COVID kind of threw a wrench in that. And I had a fantastic time in Toronto last year. So I'm really excited for us to be going back, especially in the spring. Also, for me, this is an opportunity to avenge my horrible round of golf I played Monday Eagles Nest after the event, so hopefully I can play better this time when I bring my clubs to Toronto. But yeah, more information coming on this one. Toronto team as well, if you're watching this video, I am going to be reaching out about doing the flank at Toronto. As you all know, we're trying to do it at every event this season. Glad to know Toronto is hosting Major 5, so we're going to hit them up and see if we can have something happen for y'all. All right, so we also got information about how the online portion of the schedule works. Like last year, and this is putting Major 1 aside, we'll get to that in a second. For Majors 2 through 5, we're going to have, your 3 weeks of online gameplay. Schedule is predetermined. You'll play 5 games. Everybody gets put in the table. Top 8 will start in winners round 1. Everybody else will start in losers round 1. We play through the double elim bracket. I liked this format last year. Then they found a happy medium to make it work with 12 teams, which any comp ops, or TO will tell you 12 teams are really hard to make brackets. I think they finally have found a format that kind of works. I think maybe my only tweak is sort of a scheduling thing with winners finals, losers finals, but we'll get to that at another video. I don't think we need to cover it in this one. The exception for this one is Major 1. So there are 2 weeks of qualifiers for Major 1, and those teams will be playing 4 matches over those 2 weeks. So each team will be playing 2 matches each week, which I kind of get. I don't think you really want to have matches happen the week of Thanksgiving, as cool as it would be to have season kickoff on Black Friday. I think it just makes it difficult for a number of reasons to back into a holiday. The only thing with 4 games is, and we'll get to sort of the seeding implications, is if you start to rank those teams 1 through 12, there's 1 less match. It's going to be a lot of tiebreakers, I think, in Major 1 on how the seeding works. All right, so this part was actually not covered in their announcement post. They're supposed to be doing a community update. I'm recording this on Thursday morning. It's supposed to be doing a Daniel Sai, Spencer community update around 1 p.m. Eastern. I think they were going to cover this in this video, but they've also put out the information on their website about how Major 1's going to work. We know it's going to be a Pro-Am event. We know that from sort of the conversations, it's looking like 16 teams, 12 pro teams, 4 amateur teams. None of this information, by the way, covers how the amateur teams will qualify into this event. I assume they'll cover that in community update. We'll cover that in another video, but let's assume for a second 16 teams. So the way that they have set this up on the website is it's 4 groups of 4 teams playing what we call GSL. So basically think about it this way, is you have 4 teams playing a double elim bracket for 2 spots to get out of groups. So you basically need to win 2 matches before you lose 2 matches. As you see here, if you go 2-0, you're going to get first seed coming out of your group. If you get go 2-1, then you will get the second seed. And my guess is basically like how they're going to seed this group is seeds 1 through 4 coming out of the major 1 qualifiers will get the first seed in a group. Then 5 through 8 will get second seed, and then 9 through 12 will get third seed, and then the fourth seed is the amateur tournament seeded TBD. We'll find out how that works. And I kind of like this. I mean, I would have liked to have seen round robin. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bigger fan of that format. I think GSL is not that bad. My guess is, if I had to take an educated one, that between, having CDL, having COD Mobile, having Code Bowl all in the same venue, they're running into a little bit of a programming problem in terms of trying not to have sort of the big key inflection points and all these things sort of overlap with each other. So eliminating one set of games is probably like pretty high on their priority list. I don't blame them. There's not infinite amount of sort of hours in the day for you to program. I would have liked to have round robin. I'm not totally unhappy with GSL. And then maybe the only other tweak you can make is sort of having 3 teams qualifying out of the group, and we'll get to like theoretically how that would work. Again, not a deal breaker. I would say for me that would have been nice, because for these pro teams, as many matches as possible is both the content play for them, but also understanding where their team's net. At worst, if you are a team that's going to play horrible at this event, you're getting a minimum of 2 games. I think even if you took a third seed out of this, you'd still play a minimum of 2 games. It's just more fair if you win one, but I can understand sort of the sort of issue if someone got out of groups and then got rounded, would have sort of the same placement, if not worse, than a team that got third in the group and then won 1 game and then lost. So understand the thought process there. And so based on the bracket they have set up here, we're looking at an 8-team double elimination bracket with all of the group winners starting in winners round 1 and then playing out through that. So a little bit different of a format that you're going to see than obviously the normal majors, but this is a pretty traditional double elim bracket, and will be interesting to see how this plays out. I think if you're a pro team, let's say you're like an Atlanta FaZe, that probably is favored to get to Sunday. I mean, you're looking at quite a few matches at this event, right? You're going to probably play 2 to 3 in groups, and then anywhere from like 4 to maybe 5. So a decent amount of opportunity for these pro teams to really know where they net going into the holiday. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this format. Again, if you had done this sort of third team sort of qualifying out of the groups, you probably could have added like a losers round 1 here. But as we discussed, like there's a little bit then of sort of a placement problem when you do that, and so I can understand why they haven't done it. Also, it would add 2 more games, so just more of a scheduling concern. I think again the biggest question for me now, taking a look at this major 1 cycle, is how is the amateur team that probably slots in like right here, how are they going to qualify? I can see 2 different ways. Option 1 is we have 4 spots, so let's say 2 NA teams, 1 EU and 1 APAC or LATAM or whatever, get those 4 spots. Personally, I wouldn't be a fan of this method, because you really don't get sort of the best 4 amateur teams, and it becomes sort of a cluster in terms of qualifying in the event, and it makes it very difficult. What I would like to see, and if they do this it would be amazing, is basically do a play-in tournament like a day or 2 before the actual tournament starts, bring in 8 or 16 amateur teams and have them play for the 4 spots. It'd be incredible if they did that. Again, you still have some good teams probably not making the cut, because let's say you do 8 teams, you maybe get max of like 6 and 8 teams. Some good teams are probably going to have to just play through the open bracket, and that's really gonna be their only competition that weekend. But it'll be a better format and have some good content. So I'm curious if they go down that route, or if they're going to do the sort of allocation they did similar to champs, where they just kind of granted spots. We'll see where they net out. Hopefully they cover it in the community update. And finally, along with all this, they've released the full schedule for all of the major qualifiers. So like we know every sort of online match that's going to happen this season. That being said, though, interestingly enough, for majors 4 and 5, Minnesota will be playing a couple of matches on land, flying out the teams they're playing and playing in front of a crowd. We've seen this in the Overwatch League with the Battle for Texas between the Outlaws and Fuel. I'm really excited to see how this works. I really think a lot of these CDL teams should take advantage of something like this, even if you're not hosting a major this season. Get a room of crowd in, get your gate, get some teams out, and really create that sort of quasi or full LAN experience. So we're going to get some online matches that will be played on LAN this year for them, thanks to Minnesota. We'll see if any other teams do something similar maybe at the end of the season. But looking at Major 1, and I'm not going to break down all of the major sort of schedules in this video. I think I need to kind of go through and sort of see who's got sort of the more difficult road and really kind of find all the key matches. But kind of my first glance at the schedule is you have a lot of really good quality games sprinkled throughout this. A couple that I've circled that I'm excited for. First off, you see here Saturday, December 3rd, our first game of the day is going to be Rocker versus Toronto. So the first weekend, we're getting a matchup I think that's going to have a lot of potential drama and bad blood between the players on Minnesota that came over from the Toronto Ultra team last year and the new look Toronto team, some of their ex-teammates. There's some interesting storylines there. I've also circled LA Thieves and FaZe on that first weekend, taking place Sunday night. That's your rematch of the final from COD Champs. Curious to see how that goes. These are probably two of your top 3 teams, so they're going to match right away and see where they're at. Excited for that matchup. And then I really like the slate that we have late on Sunday on the second weekend. Thieves versus Optic, again, probably 2 of the top 3 teams and probably a massive one for seeding. And then Boston for LAG could be kind of a banger. Scrolling through here, LAG actually have a pretty favorable schedule. They're going to play Boston, New York, London Royal Ravens, and Seattle Surge. So for a London team that honestly I've been very critical of, I think they managed to draw a pretty good schedule for Major 1. So won't be surprised if LAG get off to a hot start compared to a team like FaZe. It's got to play Boston, LA Thieves, Toronto Ultra, and Vegas. I expect LAG to have maybe a hot start to the season. The other part to this too is I'm very curious on the points allocation, by the way, for these first couple of matches. I went to the standings page and it's not quite updated yet in terms of sort of point allocation for Major 1. I would be really surprised if it's like a full point allocation, but maybe they will go with that. I think that'd be a little bit unfair to some teams if they don't do that, but let's see what they do on that front. Because that would be, for you look at a team like LAG, it's gonna have an easier run of their schedule. Like getting those points will be really key. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna do a video probably hitting the channel tomorrow where we talk through and react to the community update, as well as once I dive through the schedule, I'm gonna kind of break down some of the more key matches we'll have in Major 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Keep forgetting there's a 5th major this year, and so be on the lookout for that later this week. As always, let me know in the comments what you think of all of this information. A lot of news dump and info dump for y'all, so let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Major 1 format's good? What do you think of the sort of events and schedule we have? Give me your thoughts in the comments below this video. As always, if you like this video, smash that like it button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and we'll see y'all on the next one.